My husband passed away and his ex-girlfriend wants me to adopt their kids. This is sort of a long story, but I need to share because I'm feeling so overwhelmed. Everyone in my life has opinion, some very strong opinion, and I just want a place to vent and to get some unbiased opinions. My husband died 1 week before Thanksgiving. We were unofficially separated at the time. We were not living together. I still loved him, but I had chosen to distance myself due to his drug addiction, in hopes that he would seek treatment and get clean. He was seeking help, but it was not enough and he overdosed. He had trouble with drugs when he was younger, like college age, but he got clean and I believe he stayed clean for many years. He had a girlfriend back then who also became addicted to drugs and they had 2 kids. Ultimately, he got clean, had a good job, had his life in order and was doing everything he was supposed to, and he was awarded custody of their 2 kids. I actually knew him back in elementary and middle school. We lost touch when we attended different high schools. We didn't meet again until after that first instance of addicted and recovery. He had been clean for a few years when we met. His kids were 5 and 3, and they're 10 and 8 now. Their mom had supervised visitation. I have no biological children of my own. He passed away and I'm devastated over it. I can't really accept it yet. But I feel especially crushed for his children. They haven't had an easy time over the past year or so as he's dealt with his problems, and now they've suffered the ultimate loss. I've remained in their lives even while we were separated and not living together. He moved back in with his parents and took his girls with him, but I still visited them often and remained involved in all aspects of their lives. I never called myself their mom, but I essentially was their mom on a day-to-day basis. I did all the things a mom would do. Their mom was recently arrested on a burglary-related charge and is in prison. This happened after he died. I thought she was doing better. She was at his memorial and seemed more together than many times in the last. She wrote me a very heartbreaking and heartfelt letter asking me to adopt her daughters. She basically admitted she doesn't know if she'll ever overcome her addiction, and that she doesn't want the girls to go live with relatives in either side. She wants them to stay with me because it's what they know now and she feels they're safe. She said they asked her if they can come live with me and referred to my house, our former family home, as a home. I wasn't expecting that at all. She hadn't been particularly fond of me before. She's been talking for years about how she's going to get clean for her girls and get custody of them again, and she actually had some good moments, but it never stuck. I feel like the world's worst person by not immediately saying yes. I haven't responded to her at all yet. I feel like the world's most evil person not immediately saying yes. I love those girls. I've lived with them as essentially their mom for several years. I've worried about them every single day. Yet, why do I find myself thinking, do I really want to do this? I also don't even know if it'll be possible and or what kind of fight it'd be. I don't think his parents will agree so easily. I got along with his parents just fine, but they're big on family and they are absolutely destroyed by his death, so I can't imagine they'd let the girls go without a big fight. I can't help but wonder what kind of possibly lifelong mess I'd be getting myself into if I pursued this. Dealing with her, both sides of the girls' extended family, the trauma the girls will probably be dealing with forever because of their parents. I don't know that I'm strong enough to handle it all, and it makes me feel like a horrible human being. Comments. Commenter 1. A responsible person should spend some time thinking about it before answering. You are not a terrible person for needing to think through the logistics and carefully consider the impact on your life. Keep doing so until you arrive at a decision, and then commit to whatever you decide and don't look back. I say don't look back because whatever you decide will not be on a whim. You're going about this the right way? Trust yourself. Commenter 2. I wholeheartedly agree. If she wasn't taking this very seriously and stopping to think, that would be irresponsible. Look before you leap. One thing I'm wondering about is the expense this would inflict on op kids are not cheap, and given the situation I'm wondering if she can even afford it? From a practical standpoint it might be better to foster because then op would probably get $dollar every month. And the kids would probably get $dollar in financial aid for secondary and higher education once they're old enough. However, that's giving up the legal protections of adoption. And because I'm cynical, I hope the $dollar the grandparents receive for raising them doesn't interfere with their decisions as to what is best for those kids. Commenter 3. Talk to the grandparents privately. Not with the girls around. Share the mother's letter. They are probably the girl's legal guardian. You don't have to adopt if you don't want to, but you could continue to be present in their lives to provide additional stability. But if you want to adopt them and the grandparents are supportive, it shouldn't be hard to accomplish. The mom would have to terminate parental rights, which might not be an issue with her in prison, and the grandparents could willingly allow you to adopt. The rest is legal paperwork. The cost to perform it will be minimal compared to regular agency adoptions and whatnot. You just need to decide if you want to do this and can do it. You need the grandparents to agree. So, talk to them, but know what you are willing to do before that conversation. And let the mom know too. She could always be allowed to see the girls in the future if it would be safe to do so. Commenter 4. You're not a horrible human being, that's a huge task. I've taken on a somewhat similar task, and it's not easy by any means. My task was elderly in-laws. Super sweet people, but it felt like we were living on top of each other. As well as the father-in-law literally would come out of his room as soon as he heard me make a noise in the kitchen and just immediately chat me up. I was injured in combat and deal with chronic pain, PTSD, anxiety, depression, etc., and I'm not one of those people that can always be in a host mode. Sometimes I'm in pain and am down and out and can't put on a front that everything's just peachy and that I'm totally into whatever nonsense he wanted to bring up. Again, not exactly the same scenario, but still a daunting task. I can't tell you what to do in this situation, but I will say give yourself some grace and give yourself some time to think about it. One possibility is that you can assure the girls that you're always just a phone call away and that they're always more than welcome to come get away for a weekend, etc. at your place. You can transition to an aunt from a distance role and be there on basis that doesn't feel like it wears and tears on you, so that you don't build any resentment, kind of like how I did, not that you would either though. Regardless, just from reading this I can tell that you have a great heart. Hope you get the advice that you're looking for here. Update. I posted this under a different username, but I can't get into that account now. My husband died from a drug overdose in November 2024. He had drug issues when he was in his late teens/early 20s, got clean, and remained clean for many years. He had full custody of his 2 daughters, who are now 8 and 10. He relapsed sometime in 2024. He and I were separated and living apart at the time of his death. I had hoped that he'd get things back on track and we could be together again. The mother of his daughters is also a drug addict. She never managed to get and stay clean for any significant stretches. She's been arrested multiple times. She was at his memorial service and seemed to be in good shape for her, but she was arrested soon after that. She's still in jail now. When she first entered jail this last time, she wrote me a letter telling me she wanted me to adopt her daughters. They'd been living with my husband's parents, but had asked me several times about when they'd be able to go home to what had been our family home. I was basically their mom. I never referred to myself as their mom and they didn't call me mom, but I filled that role. They had sporadic contact with their actual mother. In the letter she wrote me, she even told me they told her they wanted to live with me. I posted about all of this 3 months ago. Since then, I've decided to pursue custody of them. It was a huge decision and one that, while I spent a lot of time thinking about, I didn't have the luxury of taking too long. What finally tipped me over the edge was my former in-laws saying they didn't believe the girls should go to therapy to help them deal with their father's death and their virtually absent, drug-addicted mother. It was shocking because what person in their right mind wouldn't think these girls should have all of the help they can get? At the same time, it wasn't surprising coming from them. They lived in denial of their son's problems too. They were the biggest enablers I ever met as well. They're extremely focused on image and achievement, just being the best, sports, competition. I believe they have good intentions, but they doesn't change how their actions affected their son, other children, or grandchildren. I never thought I'd be teaming up with my husband's ex-GF, but here we are. This isn't easy for her. No, she's not been a present or good mom, but I know she wishes she was. I know it's hard for her to admit she can't be their mom. Despite her problems and her track record of extreme selfishness, I can't imagine what it takes to give up custody of your children, and I'm glad she's finally putting her own wants aside to do what she thinks is best for her kids. I'm also sorry for her that despite still having parental rights over the girls, she's not being granted the authority to allow them to be adopted by somebody she designates. I understand there needs to be safety measures in place to ensure children are placed with safe people, but I'm willing to do any sort of evaluations needed to prove I can provide a safe and stable home for them. You'd think it'd be as simple as her terminating her parental rights and indicating that she wants me to adopt the children, and while that is part of the process, it's not actually that cut and dry. His parents, who again are obsessed with winning everything, have already tried to block this with the courts. They're basically trying to file some sort of injunction where if her rights are severed they get first chance to adopt the girls, and they are trying to drag me through the mud in the process and frame it to look like I can't be a fit parent. I may be single, but they're in their 60s. The girls love them, but they don't want to live with them full time. Up until last summer, our home where they lived with me and their dad had been their home for almost as long as they could remember. I'm not wealthy. I support myself just fine, but I don't have reserves to fight this if they really want to take it that far. And the annoying thing is, I still get the sense that ultimately they're doing this just because they want to win, and they also have an obsession with family and their family name. I never expressed any intention of trying to sever the relationship between them and the girls. Even if I don't necessarily like or agree with certain things about them, I told them outright that I felt we all could and should be part of the girls' lives. The girls do love their grandparents and their aunts, my husband's sisters, neither of which has shown any interest in gaining custody of the girls. I think they need as many people who love and care about them in their lives, and that even includes their mother's family, who I'd also grin and bear for their sake. I'm just so frustrated, and this isn't something that most people can easily relate to. I thankfully have many people who support me, even if they think I'm crazy for doing this at the same time. It's just that I suppose there's very little advice anyone can give me from experience. Comments. Commenter 1. Wow. With all the selfish, stupid things that are happening right now, here comes the wife of a drug addict taking on his kids. You are a superstar. Thank you for loving them, and please let us know how this plays out. Commenter 2. Also kudos to the bio mom, right? Dealing with addiction is hard, and she's aware that she can't provide what she needs for her 8 years old and 10 years old, but giving up your parental rights is still a huge sacrifice to keep your kids safe, in my opinion. Commenter 3. I was thinking that too, because I'm sure it was a hard decision on her part. Despite being a drug addict, it seems like she still wants what's best for the kids, and to be real, a lot of addicts do not think like that. Commenter 4. Hugs, from one widowed stepmother to another. What you are doing for these kids is absolutely amazing. I'm still very involved in my stepson's lives and wouldn't hesitate to assume guardianship if, heaven forbid, the need arose for any reason. Please feel free to DM anytime if you need a sympathetic/empathetic ear. Commenter 5. If you are in the US, request a guardian ad litem for your case. These can be lawyers or CASA, court-appointed special advocates, who do a deep dive, will speak with the children and their mother, and make a recommendation to the court on behalf of the children. Good luck to you. You are an amazing person and exactly the mom these girls need.